Hello again. It's 10 pages a day, virtual book club. I'm your host, Denise McKinney. We are back. We are still bending reality in chapter 6. Bending reality. Again, I mentioned in last video, we're not bending spoons. This is not the Matrix. But we are kind of discovering how the Matrix is working in our lives and how we can change it. So, diving right in to the 4 states of human living. This is what Vishen writes in The Code of the Extraordinary Mind, the book we're reading. Think of happiness in the now and vision for the future as 2 ingredients that can be combined, but that have to be in balance. Too much of one or the other creates imbalance and limitation. Depending on how they're combined at any moment in life, we can be in one of 4 different states of mind. Excuse me. And he has this, I'm going to actually show this. So you can see I do a lot of highlighting. But if you can see that, it's kind of a little napkin drawing he did. So you've got a quadrant, your vision of the future along the bottom. Along the side, happiness in the now. The 4 quadrants being the negative spiral, stress and anxiety, the current reality trap, and bending reality. I hope you can see my face over here in the corner. So the negative spiral is the state in which you're not happy in the now, nor do you have a vision for the future. That is a tough place to be. It's a painful place to be. I have been there. I lived there for a couple years, and it was a very, very hard place to be. There's little to enjoy and look forward to. It's hard. It's a hard spot. I think if you know that place, then you know it. If you don't, then it's kind of hard to explain, but that's pretty much it. The second is the current reality trap. So that's directly above the negative spiral on the happiness in the now spectrum on that graph that I showed. He says this state feels great because you're happy in the now. There's no problem with that. But he says, remember, happiness alone can be fleeting. So again, we're talking about that balance between happiness in the now and vision for the future, right? Number 3, we're moving along the vision for the future line, but we haven't moved up from into happiness in the now, is stress and anxiety. This is the state where you may have big goals, but you're tied to the happiness of attaining those goals. Or I should say, your happiness is tied to attaining those goals. So I'll only be happy when. That's that stress and anxiety paradigm, because if you're not there, it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to be happy because it's just not working, and that's what's being attracted into your life is the all the time, right? So he talks about bending reality. That's that top corner. Let me go back to it again. I'll show it to you again just because point that out. Bending reality right there. So when we've our vision for the future and our happiness in the now meet in bending reality. And he writes, this is a state where you're happy in the now, but you have a vision for the future that drives you. An interesting observation about this state is that it often seems as if the universe has your back. He puts that in quotation marks. Call it what you want, but it starts to feel as if you're lucky. The right opportunities, ideas, and people seem to gravitate to you. It's as if your happiness is rocket fuel moving you toward your vision. Again, I said this in the last video where, first getting into personal growth and development, it was kind of like the law of attraction and stuff. It was like, maybe that's possible. Apparently it happens for other people. It's not going to happen for me. It happens. I'm not going to play that up too much. It happens. My life as it is right now is a testament to the fact that happens, that things start to fall into place. The pieces start to fall into place. It's a beautiful, amazing, it's awe-inspiring, because sometimes I'm like, no way. That's exactly what I needed today. I didn't really know I needed that. But that was it. Like, that was the perfect thing. Or, I'm so glad I met this person today. Who knew? um, so he gets into the two elements of bending reality here, and he says, be happy in the now. It comes from the pursuit of your vision combined with a sense of gratitude for what you already have. If you are at all into personal growth and development, or you read those posters and signs that you can find, like paintings and stuff like that, the attitude of gratitude. And we talked about that in a previous chapter, creating a gratitude practice, right? Sorry, I just realized I was like on you. Sorry, just so close. Creating a gratitude practice, because what you appreciate appreciates, and it changes the energy of your day to find things to be grateful for. That is another whole video. I kind of probably drove my client crazy this morning talking about that, but it's very short. You know what? I'm just going to let you see my eyes, because that glare is driving me absolutely crazy. So he says, you don't have to wait for happiness. Again, he's really pushing this, and I really agree with him. Don't wait for happiness. Don't wait for whatever that means. Find your happy right now, if you can, even in the smallest things. Even if it's like, man, the skin on my neck is so nice. So grateful to have this beautiful neck skin. Or, I love the way these earrings jangle. It just makes me happy. Like, whatever. The smallest things to the way somebody smiles, to a color you see somebody wearing on the street, whatever. And if that comes, like, if you see somebody doing something, or you see something about someone or something that you find that you appreciate, or you can feel joy and gratitude, and share that. Tell them, you know what? You have a beautiful smile. Why not? Who is that going to hurt? That is a beautiful exchange of energy. And yes, it requires you to step out of your comfort zone, but people are chronically underappreciated. There's all the, fluffy stuff like, oh my God, you're so amazing. Great. But when you come from a place of true acknowledgement and appreciation, people feel that. And it's going to be like, oh, why, thank you. Maybe. It might be, ugh, you're freaking me out. But that's not you. That's them. That's them being chronically underappreciated, chronically under-recognized maybe, and not knowing how to receive that. So I recommend, I encourage you to put that out into the world, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful energy. And again, energy can't be dispelled, so it's got to go somewhere. So you might say the one thing somebody needs to hear that day. You just never know, right? He talks about a poem by John D. Rockefeller, and it's like a little poem. He says, I was early taught to work as well as play. My life has been one long happy holiday. Full of work and full of play, I dropped the worry on the way, and God was good to me every day. There are a lot of theories about the Rockefellers and the big names, and conspiracy theories and this, that, and what have you. And putting all that aside, I like that poem. I like that poem. It's a very simple way to sum up a philosophy for life, really. So there's a lot more here. I don't think I mentioned what page we started on with this, but we started at the bottom of page 120. So basically 121 through the end of the chapter, which is 128. And he says, so no matter where you are in your life today, you must remember this lesson. Your happiness cannot be tied to your goals. You must be happy even before you attain them. Doing so will make life joyous and full of play, and bring your goals to you faster than ever. I think that's pretty simple. And that's a beautiful message. We're just going to leave it at that for the moment. He says, getting there, insights for hacking happiness. And this is actually where he talks about that if-then model of reality. If X happens, then I'll be happy. So if I get the right job, if I find the perfect mate, if I buy that dream house, if I have a baby, write a best-selling book, all of those things, then I'll be happy. We shouldn't do things so we can be happy. We shouldn't be happy so that we can do things. It's that same thing. We shouldn't live to work. We should work to live, that sort of thing. So integrate practices into your daily routines that allow you to feel content and focus on the journey, not the destination. Because again, that's always going to be a moving target, right? The destination. Sorry, I've gotten like antsy trying to sit here. All my stuff around me. Very important lesson in my opinion, something that I need to be reminded of every so often to remember, because I have had the most luck, the most amazing things happen when I am coming from a place of gratitude and joy in my life. And I could tell you a whole video's worth of stuff just on one trip that I took that just was mind-bogglingly amazing. Actually, it was the trip in which I met Vishen Lakhiani. It was the end of that trip, but that was when I was really introduced to gratitude and joy and happiness no matter what. And it was one of the most phenomenal trips I've ever had in my life. Just met amazing people. People were gracious in New York City, which a lot of people think is not a possibility. It is. We met amazing people. Had my mom and I talk about it. We just told somebody about it a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "What? All of that happened to you?" And we were like, yeah, it was amazing. So the second step the second element of bending reality is developing an exciting vision for your future. A bold dream that pulls you forward. He says extraordinary people intend to leave a mark on the world. So make sure that your goals aren't rule-based. It's not based in BS rules or something that doesn't serve you. So, if I guess what comes to mind to me is money stuff. I'm going to let that one go because I'm not really sure where that thought was going, and I don't want to make a statement that I don't feel in alignment with. So I'm just going to move on from that. He says, or you might end up chasing something that feels meaningless once you acquire it. He talks about his experience with getting his job at Microsoft. It was a big vision to get this job at Microsoft. It was such a big thing. It's Microsoft. He's hanging out at the CEO's house. But when he looked back, that wasn't what he wanted. It was a BS rule and a BS version of someone else's life. So the next section is insights for hacking vision. And that thing he talks about, he says, we confuse rules with goals. Extraordinary minds pay little attention to the infectious wants of the culturescape. Instead, they create their own goals. He then says we can only visualize what we know. And he said there's nothing wrong with visualizing and pursuing what we think will make us happy. We can really only visualize what we already know. This is an interesting thing, and I was talking about this earlier today with my client, but we have this idea, I think, a paradigm in our culture of, well, once I attain success of a certain level, then what? And it's like this idea of looking at a mountain, right? So, you're down at the bottom, and you're like, oh, my goal is this, this, and this, and you're looking at what you know. So you're climbing, and you succeed. You get to the top of the mountain, and it's like, from there, you can see this whole different landscape of what's possible. And that's kind of how I look at this, is at this point, there's maybe a cap in my imagination of what I know. But as I learn and grow in order to achieve this goal, that goal, or whatever, this one goal, that mountaintop, once I get there, the frame of reference has changed. What I know is different. What I believe is different. My rules and my systems and models are all different. And that will speak to what I then can see as the next peak that I want to reach. He also says we're notoriously bad at predicting just what we can do in a given time frame. This one actually, this got me when I first started kind of studying, I guess, with Vishen. He says we tend to overestimate what we can do in 1 year and underestimate what we can do in 3 years. Being the kind of person who was like, you know, hey, I tried for a month and it didn't work out. I was definitely overestimating. Or maybe I was doing both. Just put it that way. So law number 6, again in chapter 6, is bend reality. Also the same title as the chapter. It's the sum up. I think that's what's happening here. It's the sum up. He says extraordinary minds are able to bend reality. They have bold and exciting visions for the future, yet their happiness is not tied to these visions. They are happy in the now. This balance allows them to move toward their visions at a much faster rate while having a ton of fun along the way. To outsiders, they seem lucky. Well, I don't know about you, but I want to be lucky all the time. I feel incredibly lucky now. I'm lucky to be doing this. I'm lucky if you're watching. If you're not, someday hopefully you will be. And just lucky to do what I do every day. I love it. There's an exercise in here, the 8 statements. Go through, highlight, circle, whatever the things that it's the 12. No, it's not the 12, but it's several areas of life. Answering statements on a not at all true, sometimes true, very true model. And let me know how that goes for you. And then in the next chapter, we're going to talk about living in blisscipline. So applying that joy and that appreciation for the now and seeing how it benefits your life. Okay? I'll see you guys in the next video.